All right, here we are today as promised doing a little barbecue. I'm Chef Bob Sargent with Savory Cuisines. We're going to start dairy-free again. We're actually going to make a vegan mac and cheese. If it's going to be dairy-free and it's mac and cheese, it might as well be vegan. I'm going to show you how to make a quick barbecue sauce, and we're going to smoke some meats on a home grill, and then we'll take a quick tour of my kitchen. All right, first is first. Our water's boiling. Remember, salty is the Bay of Naples, whatever that means, but as I said, basically soup strength water. Let that get going again. We have some coconut milk here. It's about 2.5 cups. We're gonna get that boiling. Meantime, so that's boiling. In here, I have about a cup of water and 3/4 cup of cornstarch. I'm just gonna add it to our coconut milk, and I'll tell you what we're doing. That was like a tablespoon. I'm just going to add enough cornstarch to the boiling coconut milk to basically make it a silky kind of cheese sauce texture. Let's see if that does it. You can see how it sits on the fork, how thick it is. A little thicker. Probably got about 4 tablespoons at this point of slurry into there. And then if you look around the sides, it's boiling, it's thick. Pretty much the texture of a cheese sauce. I'm going to let that simmer. I'm going to turn it way down. After you add cornstarch, you want to let things simmer for 10 to 20 minutes to get the starch nice and even to cook out. It's starting to stick to the sides. To that, while we got this boiling back there, we'll get our elbow macaroni in. It's about 6 people for mac and cheese per pound. I would imagine that was just over a pound of elbows. There's about 3 cups. Get that going, and now we're gonna get barbecue sauce going. It's all very fast. While that's heating up, I wanna make a spice blend. So for the mac and cheese sauce, I have some smoked salt, some paprika, curry powder, turmeric, and we'll add some white pepper to it. I'll show you what we're gonna do, yeah. This is really fast. We have a little bit of spices left over from yesterday, little Indian spices. I don't think it'll hurt it. Just a little background for the cheese sauce. We got some bourbon smoked salt. You can use smoked paprika, smoked salt, really anything you like. It's about a tablespoon. I'm gonna put about a teaspoon of curry powder in there. And the reason I'm adding this is because there just wasn't quite enough volume. I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons, whoa, maybe a little more than that, of paprika. It'll be a little orange from these combinations. And a little turmeric. This is just gonna make it that cheesy color. I'm gonna add about a 1/4 teaspoon is all. We can add some more later but you can't take it back. There we go. To this, our cheesy mix. I'll just get that incorporated in. The thing that makes vegan cheese cheesy is nutritional yeast. Now if you look over here, we're starting to become the color of cheese already. It's a little orange from the paprika, but the turmeric will take over and it will be yellow very soon. So we've got the consistency down. And again, add your cornstarch slurry very slowly till you get the consistency you want. And then we have nutritional yeast. So again, I just had over 2 cups of coconut milk, just a scant 2, some boiled out. So it was probably 2 1/4. And to that, I'm gonna add 3/4 cup of nutritional yeast. The smoked salt, the paprika, and this nutritional yeast is going to make a very, 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 very quick vegan cheese sauce. You've seen some of my other episodes. It's very important. I broke a cardinal rule. Always stir your pasta. Stir it, stir it, stir it. It's already starting to stick a little bit. The nutritional yeast has a very strong flavor. Like I said, it's cheesy. It can be almost salty. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this cook out for a minute and see what happens. Now, our other pan is hot. If it gets too hot, just remove it from the heat for a second. And we're gonna add a little bit. Well, we'll make sure that we're ready to go in case it's really hot, because the onions will slow the heat down. All right, well, I'll measure this out for you. That way you'll have a basis. And I'm gonna try to put all the recipes on my Instagram, hopefully before the episodes come out. I've written most of them down. I'm making little adjustments. And then when the episodes come out, as I tag them, I will put the recipes down as well. So it looks like for our barbecue, we're going to start with 2 cups of onions. Whoop, we're going to really turn this down. Put this back on the heat. Stir. There we go. Happy noodles. About a 1/4 cup of oil. 2 cups of onions. Stir those around till they soften. You can leave the onions in your barbecue sauce. We at the catering company put in squeeze bottles or syrup containers often, so we puree it at the end. Here's our vegan cheese sauce, looking really good. It's a little bit not quite smooth from the yeast, but we can puree that as well. So our onions have started really quickly already. It was nice and hot. They're already soft. 2 tablespoons of garlic. And this is going to go really fast. So now our bowl is empty again. I'm going to show you a trick. I went to my cupboard and I noticed that my brown sugar had hardened up. So you just put in a food processor and now it's super fine. It'll melt really easily. If you don't do that, what will happen is you'll get these little brown sugar rocks that are bigger than this. If you have these little ones, they'll melt pretty easily. So here we go, stirring around. And then we'll measure this out too. Maybe. So what I often do is I'll just put in more than I need, see where it's at. 1 3/4 cups. Remember, stir your pasta, stir your pasta, stir your pasta. Elbow macaroni takes about 14 minutes. 12 if you like it a little more al dente. When you do cook the mac and cheese, if it's not all the way cooked, it will take up more moisture. You can make the mac and cheese kind of dry. There's our vegan cheese sauce. It's fully incorporated. We're just going to shut it off and cover it. Let it hang out. All right. So to this, we're going to add 4 cups of ketchup and 3/4 cup of Worcestershire. Because the ketchup's already sweet, we're probably going to add about 1 cup of sugar. We'll see. Exactly 1 cup. Now 3/4 cup of Worcestershire. Boop. Wonderful. Half cup of vinegar. So I got into barbecue. I had an opportunity to open a restaurant after I'd owned a catering company. That was one of the original goals of the catering company, was to generate enough capital to open a restaurant. So that opportunity came. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to open a barbecue restaurant? Just so happened I had a friend who lived down in Texas who said, hey, Texas is the home of barbecue. I live in Austin. And you've heard all the famous places, Black's and Franklin's and all those places in Austin. 4 cups of ketchup. And so I went down there and it was amazing. I went to Lockhart, Texas, which is the home or the birthplace of Texas barbecue, I think, for some people. I just checked it out. I really wanted to see what they were doing down there, and the people were incredibly nice. They couldn't be more than welcoming or helpful. I think I was in one place and I asked if I could check it out. The man said, "Are you going to open a barbecue here in Texas?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And he said, "Well, come on back and let me show you what I'm doing." And so they only smoked with wood. I've seen pellets. People start with propane and things like that. But down in Texas, it was just wood, and it was just a beautiful thing. You know, they're really known for their brisket, hot links. Today we're gonna do a pork butt and a small piece of brisket. To this, this barbecue sauce, I am going to add a 1/4 cup of chili powder, a little bit more, maybe a 1/3 cup of chili powder total. And I'm gonna let that go. Our elbows are almost done. Stir our barbecue sauce. Turn it down. It's gonna burn really easily. There's a lot of sugar in there. But what I saw in Texas was people who just really cared for the meats. They tended the smokers. They really watched the temperatures of everything. They were extremely careful about everything they did. Move things around if there's hot spots. Went to the salt lick, there was an open pit, and so they had sausages hanging above the pit, and they had, you know, pork butts in the center, briskets on the side going slower, every kind of meat you could think of, and it was pretty wonderful. You can see them on Instagram, and they always take pictures of their pits, and even small videos, and it's just something to behold. So I'm gonna put a little black pepper in there, not too much. A couple tablespoons of salt. Again, the ketchup, the Worcestershire already have salt. We're just gonna season the vinegar a little bit. This is about a tablespoon. We're gonna get to our cheese sauce is done. We'll move this back. We'll deal with that later. We'll check it for salt. We'll add some white pepper, and should be good to go. Elbows are close. Well, those finish out, and our barbecue just simmers. You're gonna simmer your barbecue sauce for about an hour. It will caramelize, all come together. If you could see it, it's already got the color, and it really is. It's that simple. It's a little vinegar, a little Worcestershire, sugar, ketchup, chili powder. You can add different spices. You can look up different recipes. We make a curry apricot barbecue sauce at the catering company that people really love. That goes great with smoked turkey. Get our colander ready for the pasta. I've had these for years. I bought a set of them at the grocery store for like $5.99. They work for everything. I strain out sauces, pastas, stocks, because they're just small enough to grab everything, but they're not so small that they clog really easily, like the finer mesh strainers that you'll see in restaurants, and called a chinois or a French fine strainer. Here, I just brought these out. We soaked these for about an hour. This is mesquite, the darker one. This is cherry, the lighter one. I always like to use a blend of 2 woods when I smoke, and when we get outside, I'll show you some tricks. Next thing is next. Turn this down even lower. Like I said, always stirring, always stirring. I can look at them, I can see they're really close to done, so hopefully we can finish this project. Now in Texas, when they smoke a brisket, they generally just do salt and pepper. I've seen some use barbecue spice. I like to use a little barbecue spice. And then for a pork, as you can see, this is a whole pork butt. We've poked some holes in it so some spices can go down. If you look on this side, this part's open, that's where the butt comes out. And so on the other side, and then make some slices there, and a slice there, a couple more pokes through. All right, and then we're just gonna start rubbing stuff. Put a little salt and pepper everywhere. Now, if you have a whole brisket in Texas, they smoke it for about 6 hours, and they wrap it in foil, and they leave it on the smoker. Slow and low is the Texas style, 225 degrees, and they just smoke it all day so it doesn't dry out. As I said, after you smoke and get the first ring, then you could just wrap it in foil and finish it slow. I finish them, we have quite an operation, and sometimes we'll have 300 pounds of pork butt on the smoker. So we want to get in there, get every little thing possible. The hole we cut. We'll smoke them for 6 hours, the butts and the briskets. And then we'll put them in pans like this. Put a little bit of water in the bottom just so they don't burn. And then put them in a 300-degree oven for about 4 hours. It speeds us up a lot. What that does, is all the things that were in there are in there, all the smoke and everything. The water pretty much evaporates when it's done. It makes it, cooks it a little faster. Then we use that jus that comes out after we slice it for a little coating. I find it's really good. Like I said, it's still an open smoke for 6 hours, and then everything is left in there. I don't, maybe it's cheating a little bit, but you know, for our needs, some days we do barbecue for 1,000, 2,000 people, on top of doing weddings for clients and our corporate things, box lunches, all these things. So anytime we can keep it as authentic as possible and cut a corner, I'm gonna have to try and do that. All right, now we've loaded it. We've got our brisket here off heat. We've got our pork butt on the grill. We're gonna turn this side of the off, and then we're gonna turn this side down. We have a nice smoke coming out of the box. We can add chips as we go. I've tried 2 smokers. This is a pellet tube. Seems to be working just fine as well. And then this is a little smoke box. You can see the chips in it are starting to black and smolder. There we go, that's it. I checked our temperature earlier. We turn off this side so we don't do any direct cooking. We turn this side down to about halfway. It should rest around 250, 275, and we will smoke this for about 6 hours. Come back, wrap them, and finish them in the oven. I wanted to come to the catering company and show you what a real commercial smoker looked like. As I said before, we like it between 225, 275 at the highest, 225 at the lowest. Right now, if you could see it, we're at about 255, and a considerable amount more smoke than we normally see. Now this one is just finishing right now. You can see how the black bark on it. Just got that one. We have some ribs on as well. See, these are just gone on, so there's no bark yet. And this is working its way around. But this is what a nice 6-hour smoked pork butt looks like. You can see it in the sunshine. You can see the fat is starting to render. Now we'll probably wrap this one up and stick it in the oven for about 4 more hours. So if we come around the back, we have 2 fire boxes. Generally, we don't need to build fires in each box. On this side, we'll keep a block of wood that's warm and dry, getting dry. And then this side is where our fire actually is. I just put in a new log, and it's that fresh log on top of the coals which builds the smoke. With the firebox on this side, generally close off this flue and let the smoke pull through and come out of this stack, and that fills the entire machine with smoke. Also, our smoker here is on a conveyor, and I think that helps circulate the smoke a little bit and really gets everything just so smoky and good. We use a blend of hickory and mesquite. I find the hickory gives a nice smoky flavor. It's a subtle, it burns for a long time, and the mesquite gives it that real deep smoky Texas taste. Here we are back. This was smoked for over 4 hours and then finished in the oven for about 2.5. You could see the bark on it. It's really nice. The fat's rendered. It's not jiggling at all anymore. We took it to about 205 degrees. Now here's our brisket. This one is more what we expect in our kitchen. This one is more what you get from the store. Now a brisket, you should keep a 1/4 inch of fat on it, and there's usually fat in here. But for some reason, where we bought it from, I won't say the name of the store, but they trimmed all the fat off a brisket. I don't know who would ever tell you to do that. But we did smoke it on our home smoker, and it's got a nice bark on it. And if you look at it, it did cook up rather nice. We got it to about 190 degrees, which should be pull apart tender. It's still got some nice juice to it. Now they say when you slice a brisket, it should be the thickness of a number 2 pencil. If it's a little overcooked, you're gonna cut a little thicker. If it's a little undercooked, you're gonna cut a little thinner. And again, no one's gonna know. So, see that stupid meme on Instagram, no one's gonna know. Yeah, well, maybe not. So here we go. We got our nice brisket right here. We're gonna place that on our platter. Okay, move this aside for now. Now, a nice pulled pork. Usually, if it's just right to 205, you should just be able to push it down like that. Every piece of it, just come apart. You want to do this while it's still warm. Look at that. There's no fuss, no fight. Watch this. That is perfect pulled pork. In the oven, we have our dairy-free mac and cheese about to come out. Sometimes if the top's a little burnt, we might discard some of this fat. Normally, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'm going to chop it up. So there's all of our pulled pork. Look at that beautiful piece. Well, let's cut that piece in half. It has a long muscle. And then just break it in half. It's really hot to work with sometimes when you first get it out. Oh, look at the bark. That even got the smoke on the inside where it was folded over. We're just going to pick that up. And we're going to transfer that as well. I don't like to over smash it. I call that making cat food. As I said, there's a lot of flavor on here, salt, spices. Sometimes I'll chop it up, but we've got such a nice bark around the whole piece of meat. I'm just going to discard that. Now we have our nice platter there. We have a nice platter there. Let's move this over to the side and see what we got in the oven. We're going to pull this out. Oh boy. There is our vegan mac and cheese. It's easy to make it. You can make it, I suppose you could make it non-vegan, but I don't really know how. I've seen it made with cashew, butter, different plant-based milks. I made this with coconut, canned coconut milk, not like coconut milk. And then this is Miyoko's, I think, vegan mozzarella, all plant-based. If you see over here, you could see it just sizzling. Before I baked it, I mixed it with the cheese sauce we made earlier. I threw in some Earth Balance to add some creaminess to it. And let's get a spoon and see what this looks like. This bowl was in the oven. Always remember that. Sometimes when I'm in the kitchen, I will leave a towel on something I took out of the oven because you'll be like, oh, bowl, and you'll burn yourself horribly. Oh, look at that. It's nice and creamy. I know this plant-based mozzarella. Look, it just wants to push in there. If I'd cut it a little thinner. Oh boy. Creamy, dairy-free mac and cheese. Put that to the side. And then what could be named the star of the show, if you really love it, is our barbecue sauce. Didn't really do anything to it. Exactly the same recipe I gave you earlier. We're gonna do a couple ladles of that. You can see that deep rich color. That's the chili powder. That's the Worcestershire sauce, the ketchup, the brown sugar. We simmered it for about 90 minutes. It really came together. It's sweet. Some of the vinegar disappeared. It kind of melded together. And you don't really taste the ketchup, the Worcestershire, the vinegar, or the chili powder. It is barbecue sauce. So we got that. And then last but not least, you always want to. So we had just some barbecue stock that we had from braising the pork. So all that smoke flavor's in there. And we're just gonna do that. Give it a little moisture, a little salt in there. Wham. Pick this up. You can eat this with rolls, white bread. If you were in Texas, you'd just eat it with white bread. You put a piece of white bread in your hand. Some people build a little sandwich like a little white bread taco. Some people just grab it. It's kind of weird. Not weird to grab it, but I kind of think of it as like if you ever eaten Ethiopian food, ingira is the pancake that you eat the food with your hand. And I saw lots of people in Texas just grabbing a piece of white bread, grabbing some brisket, dipping it in the barbecue sauce and eating it. Let me see if I have a piece of bread. Let's just do that. Well, I live in Boulder, so it's far from white bread, but I do have a little piece of Dave's Killer bread. I'm I'm just gonna rip it. Grab a little pork. I want to get some of that bark on there. Some of that, it's like candy. I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna dip it. Yep. That's for real barbecue. Again, I smoke it for 6 hours, wrap it, finish it in the oven for 2.5 until the dead center internal temperature comes to 205, and then you're good. Same thing with the brisket. This was a smaller piece. We want it to about 195. You want to just pull apart, just like that. This is maybe could have gone a little bit longer, but even with a little smoke pellets, it's got a good smoke flavor. It's got decent caramelization. It's got a really light smoke ring because it wasn't smoking like our industrial smoker. It's got nice pull apart bite through feel. We cooked this one to about 185, 190, 195, the pork to 205. I can't stop eating it. It's pretty good. I hope you enjoy. I hope you learned something. Like I said, we'll try to get some recipes up, get you some ratios of how we made things on the Instagram. Thanks.